Welcome to one of the many circle sessions hosted by Wonder Girls. Wonder Girls is a nationwide classrooms movement. We bring relatable female role models into classroom settings through our circle sessions. As you will see, the crux of these sessions is its dialogic nature. We're currently working with 150 plus classrooms across 7 Indian cities. Our aim is for every adolescent in India to have access to relatable female role models. I welcome you once again and hope you enjoy learning from our speakers' life journey and career path.
Hello everyone, good afternoon. Warm welcome to everyone present over here. Um, Today, like to we'll start by welcoming our guest Rajashvi Jajoida, ma'am. So we are very happy to have you here. A warm welcome to
Thanks,
you.
sir. Thank you so much. I'm really happy to be here and quite excited to do this as well.
Great. Ma'am, how we would have the whole agenda is I'll just introduce you to the whole of it. They have read through your introduction, but it's just a formal introduction
Right.
I'll do. Then I'll display the questions on the screen so even students can see that. So probably you can take one question by one question. Is that fine, ma'am?
Yeah, sure. I have also prepared like a PPT for just some of the questions.
Okay.
So I'll just like share my screen as well. And yeah,
Sure, ma'am. You can ask me whenever you want. I can make you
sure.
co-host so that you can share. Just a
Okay,
second.
great.
I'll make you co-host. Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, just a brief introduction about Rajashvi Jajodia, ma'am. So she's a storyteller by heart, and she has a keen eye for all things that have something to tell. She's an artist by qualification with a bachelor's in fine arts from Art Institute of Chicago. While gaining a global perspective abroad, she continued to be fascinated by her own roots and culture. Masaya is her easel, where she combines her two big loves, storytelling and art. It is also an attempt to build a community that can help the delicacy of the arts and crafts of India alive in an increasingly digital world. With Masaya, she wants to create a gender neutral and sustainable world for children. And when she's not painting tales onto pieces of Masaya, I mean, you can catch her with a camera hunting for stories in the most unlikely places. So I'll just share my screen, ma'am. We
Yes.
can go ahead with it. Ma'am, we would like to start this session by the very first understanding,
Yes.
like what is this company about? Like we are all very eager to hear about
So Masaya is essentially a home decor brand where we make kids bed linen, so infants and kids bed sheets, blankets, pillow covers is what we design, and then we get them manufactured, and then we also sell them on various online platforms. We are also coming up with our website soon. So that is what Masaya is all about. But my vision for Messiah is obviously much greater. I want it to be like a D decor, but for kids, where you can enter the store and have an experience where you pick out your favorite character, say, for example, a giraffe, and you can pick up curtains, you can pick up pillow covers, you can pick up furniture. So you can pick up everything that you need to do up a room, and you can choose different patterns, different textures, and obviously all those patterns and textures would be created in India using different crafts. In terms of social media, like if you see our Instagram platform, we want it to be a community, not like a one-stop shop, but more like a community where mothers can come and talk about various issues that they're facing, have unsaid conversations, maybe about breastfeeding that people can't talk about very openly, or they come and talk about their mental health, or they come and talk about, like, a lot of times mothers feel a lot of emotions towards their children that they can't express anywhere else. So we wanted to be more a social media platform to have conversations, rather than a product page. So that is what Messiah is all about.
that's a very interesting thought. We'll move on to our next question. we are also very thrilled to know like what exactly Masaya means. Like it's a
Yes.
very new word for us.
Okay, so I'm just going to share my screen now.
Okay, yeah.
Um,
You can share, ma'am. It just gets
so
closed.
this will get
Yeah.
closed. Okay. Um, okay, desktop. I need to, yep. I think someone has entered the waiting room. Should
Yeah.
I just
No,
admit?
I can let them in, ma'am. You can
Okay,
continue.
great. Can you all see my screen? I don't know if I'm doing this right.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
can see.
okay, great. Okay, I'll just do it like this. So Messiah, um, actually, like I literally like just pulled this up from Google. It means display in the very normal sense, and it really resonated with me because it can be the display of anything, be it emotions, be it your experiences, be it like creating experiences for people. It can be a display of your art, of yourself, like part of you, because when you start something, it's literally your baby which you want to display. So that is why I ended up choosing Messiah. Secondly, the word Messiah, it comes from Ethiopia, and the national language of Ethiopia is Amharic. So it's actually an Amharic word. I also thought I'll include like a little glimpse of like how do you choose a name, like when you want to like start something. So you definitely have to make sure that it's something very simple. It's easy to pronounce. It is something that the audience will resonate with. So in terms of Messiah, a lot of people first end up thinking Messiah, which actually means leader, and that is a very common word. So in that sense, it just builds a connection in their mind that Messiah. Secondly, in terms of syllables, it's very easy to pronounce. Like it has ma, sa, ya, all ending with a. So that again becomes really easy to pronounce, and people end up remembering it a lot better. It needs to be short, and obviously, it's your company in the end, and you should feel connected to whatever name you choose for the company. So that is the meaning behind Messiah.
Oh, great. Thank you so much. Ma'am, if you want to continue, you can continue with your own slides.
Okay, so you could probably ask the questions. I think
Okay.
and then I could,
Sure, sure. Then you can keep your screen share on. I'll
sure,
just ask the questions, ma'am.
yeah.
Yeah. So our next question is like, what or who inspired you to start this company? Kids are
Okay.
very enthused about it.
So what inspired me was when I was actually studying in Chicago. I couldn't wait to come back home, and we had this subject called art history, where like we would study about art from like different time periods and also different cultures, including India. And it really fascinated me how less I myself knew about the Indian culture and the arts of India that exist, the different kinds of techniques artisans over here can present, which a lot of people can't in general. Or like all over, I would see the culture of art in other places. There are great painters, but if you go to find like a weaver who is like working out of this small like room in his house, you're not going to find that over there, like just pouring his heart and soul into the project. So once I came back, I actually did a weaving course over here as well for a month in Calicut. I would roam around to places. When I would roam around, I would be interested by spending time with the people there and understanding about their culture. And somehow at that time the digital era had just started. So it also kind of like really pulled down the art community, and people were talking about how artisans are going out of business, or like losing their years and decades of like finesse and artwork. So because of that, I really wanted to do something that would like pull together artisans and promote art, but also, as we know, the art scene is not very prevalent here. So I wanted to make it into a usable form and spread art through usable products that people would actually end up using rather than going to a gallery and seeing it. So that is what inspired me to kind of start Messiah.
Oh, it's very inspirational, ma'am, listening to that whole story of how you're going.
Thank
Um,
you.
yeah, here comes the next one. Like, can
Yes.
you tell us what are some subjects you studied in Art Institute? Like,
Yes. So I actually, Bachelor of Fine Arts is a bachelor's degree, but you don't have to declare a major in it. So I've done various subjects. I've studied interior design, which I did for quite some time, but then I didn't really like it so much. And in fact, the funny thing is, my professor in interior design during my final exam is telling me how bad I am at interior design and I should try a more creative field. And I was literally crying there because my final project I'm displaying and he's just criticizing it. And he told me, why don't you try something like textiles? Because it doesn't have, it's not as technical as interiors, and you can even show your creativity there. And honestly, it's because of him that I discovered the entire textiles field and kind of got into Messiah. So I studied interiors. I also studied photography because I was contemplating between photography and textiles for the longest time. And I started my design education with fashion design, because as a kid I would like designing a lot of my dresses. So my parents just suggested, why don't you try fashion design? But honestly, I that was the worst out of all these subjects that I have done. So yeah, I've studied like a bit of everything and finally done textiles.
okay, that's great. So the next question is like, what skills do you need to be a storyteller? Like, I teach SST for the kids, so doing that in kind of a story is always the kids would prefer. So even I am looking forward to this question.
So, a storyteller is essentially someone, I personally believe, who tells their story. Um, and I realized this when I was looking at art in a museum, and I did not like the aesthetic of modern art. But I realized that the art, whatever art is created, it is not for you to like or dislike. It is for the artist to express. If you like it or dislike it, that's your opinion. And I feel the same goes for storytelling as well. It's for you to tell your own story. So, in terms of skills that you need to possess, I have learned this. Being in like creating stories or creating prints. This is like from one of our stories itself, like the background. So what I have learned is that firstly you need to be genuine, because genuinity is recognized by everyone around you. If you're not genuine, people will be able to tell eventually, and you also won't be able to not be genuine for a very long time. Secondly, like I said, don't try and sell your story. Just write it. It will sell itself because it will connect to people who connect with you. Uh, or like you should also definitely keep in mind what your audience is going through and find points to connect with them. That doesn't mean you write their story. It means you write your story, but just find common ground between you and your target audience. Don't overthink it at all. And lastly, be clear on what you're writing or what you want to put out there and just write about it. So that is what I'm going to say for being a storyteller.
Thank you so much. Yeah, the next question is, can you guide us about how to make a profession in the arts field? As we see the field as like very few people take that up. So how do we actually become a professional in it?
Um, I honestly don't know how you can become a professional artist or use art to become to like start a business. Um, so I can only say what I did from Messiah's point of view or what my vision is for Messiah. Um, so I really wanted myself to like make art and display it in galleries and actually like host an exhibition of like, different mediums that I've studied and get them all together. Um, which I also I was skeptical of because of like the notion that just exists in our community of how like an artist can just not do well. Um, so I decided to transform my art into usable products. And I did it for kids because I wanted it to be inculcated in them from an early age. I do still want to have like an exhibition eventually, and also still want to kind of like spread art through like, hosting workshops of like different, like say block printing workshops or painting workshops. Um, I also host a lot of live sessions with artists. Where we create like again easily accessible or usable products which anyone who doesn't know art also can create, so they are at least not scared of just being like, oh my god, how do I paint? So to become a professional in the arts field, what I would say is, I think you need to kind of know what you want. Don't ever lose touch with that. Like, if you want to be a painter, paint, um, and kind of probably make it usable in the form that social media is such a big tool nowadays. I know so many people who sell like paintings through art. There are a lot of movements happening. There's this page called Young Art Support, which actually supports fresh new artists. They don't take any professional artists. They also support a lot of self-learned artists. I know a lot of brands where, like 10 a.m. online, where the owner was a self-learned graphic designer who just started her brand of like doing like gift hampers or like envelopes, like stationery. I know another brand, like, where the person would paint. So they made that into home decor products like lampshades, coasters. So I would say becoming a professional is honestly up to you and what you want to do, and then how you want to transform that using social media into something that sells. And art is such a versatile field, right? Like, even if you start by say selling your art and you see that okay, maybe you want to like take a step further or like increase your production or make it more like buyable for users, you can always transform your art into pieces. You can always start with art, see how it's going, or you can go the other way around also. So it totally depends on you and how you want to take it forward. And it's all honestly a matter of trial and error. There's no other way to it.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing that experience with us. Um, so the next question is, why isn't art a popular subject in India?
That's a good question. Um, I just feel that art is not as popular because of lack of awareness, is what I would like to say, or how I would put it. Um, People just have this notion that if you're an artist, then it's not a professional job where you're not getting a, say, like a monthly salary, to support. So I think that really gets people very skeptical about, oh, like, if my kid studies art, how is he going to support himself or support his family? Like, it comes from a place of like concern normally. I wouldn't say like they do it on purpose, but they just grown up in that society where art was not very prevalent. And when something is not prevalent, and if it's any change, it's always difficult to accept any kind of change. And it's the same with art as well. It's just very difficult for them to accept that, okay, art can be like into a, like art can sustain you. So I think that is why it's like a very unpopular subject in India.
Okay. Uh, so the next one is, can you share any interesting anecdotes while you were starting your company?
So while I was starting my company, I would actually, okay, so right was the expectation, on the right side, the blueprint, and left was what I presented. So you can see that both of them are in completely different segments. So what happened was, how Messiah started was that I had just got back from college and I was looking for something to do. And an aunt of mine put me in touch with a vendor who wanted to start kids bedding. They were already doing kids garments, and they wanted me to just freelance design for them. So again, the expectation was the right, and I gave them the left, and that really didn't work out at all. And the left was what I presented after 4 tries of adding as much color as I could in a print. That is the maximum color that my heart would let me add. So we went our separate ways, and I decided to launch the print. And that is how Messiah started, literally. That was how Messiah started.
uh, like, I mean, definitely the one on the left is more beautiful than right. Like,
Thank you.
yeah. So, what is meant by making the world general neutral, and how are you doing this through your work? Like, the
Okay,
kids are still not so very exposed to gender issues.
right. Okay. So, gender neutral means when men and women are equal. It doesn't mean either is above the other. Like, it doesn't mean, so when I say that, if they say, um, like, men can do this, for example, like stay out late at night, women can also stay out late at night. Uh, at the same time, I also mean if they say women can cook, men can also cook. So that is what, in the most simplest sense, is meant by gender neutrality. It just means that both are equal. Um, the way Messiah chooses to make or to get gender neutral to the surface is through its prints and through its colors for now. So, for example, even so, we decided to go gender neutral starting with our logo itself. Uh, After, like, we did a bit of research into what colors would be the most gender neutral or are considered gender neutral. Like, people basically won't see the color and go, hey, this is for a boy or this is for a girl. Like, we wanted to kind of break that. um so we decided to go with a nice teal, and like, which is an aqua teal, and a coral, which, like, people related most to gender neutral. So that is why we chose these colors. In terms of our print, this superhero print is a print that we have, which I personally launched as our gender neutral print. It is black and yellow. It says a superhero sleeps here. A hero, in the most basic sense, can be a male or a female. We didn't include color variants in this because we feel black and yellow is a pretty basic color. You don't need to relate it to a man. And through this print is what we have, tried to break gender stereotypes, because we have had people buy this print even for their little girls, even for women. So that is how we are trying. In all our designs, we definitely make sure to see that it's not like we don't use pink or blue. That's not what I'm saying. Like if we use pink, we will make sure we also use a blue in that print. So now what are you gonna do? Because it has pink and it has blue. So now what? So we generally make sure that we give like both colors, or like we'll give like a yellow and a peach. So again, it becomes both, like usable for both. So that is how we are trying to make it gender neutral.
So it's a very interesting way of looking at things, like getting things done. Yeah. So with that, like with the general gender neutral thing, so the next question is like, what is your dream for India or world in terms of it?
My dream for India, I would not go as to say the world, but for India is to just keep the art alive, to hopefully one day become an artist community that is a lot more accepting in terms of gender neutrality, in terms of mental health, in terms of artisans, in terms of like the barrier between like you and the artisan. um, so in terms of like just equality in every spectrum that you can think of is what I would want from India, or my vision for India, and spread as much of this message as I can through my either my social media platform or through my prints, through newsletters that go to our clients, through all of these like various things, like wherever, however we can spread this is what my vision is.
So that's a fantastic vision, like being inclusive of each and everyone. Like there's no separation between the artisans and us. Like
Yes, yes, basically.
um, so like we are almost nearing to the end, but yeah,
Okay.
like with based on that, like the kids are like very eager to know like how can we contribute like to keeping the culture of India alive, like that's the goal, so how do we do it?
So, when you contribute, right, to something, firstly, I feel it has to be your passion, because only then will you willingly do it, right? Like, it's like, okay, you go for like a art walk once, but if it's not your passion, you're not going to go again, and it's not going to build a community. So the way you could contribute to it is by, I think, being aware about it to begin with, and to spread that awareness to whoever you meet. Like, just talk about it, talk about art, talk about artisans, have those conversations. Whenever you go somewhere, maybe try exploring the culture of there, to know more about it, to know the process, to know the history, to know where they come from, so that you can willingly, like, either contribute to them um, by like getting something made, or you can spread awareness. Like, contributing doesn't always mean that you have to provide. Contributing can also be by just getting more people to know. For example, if anyone comes to me and they are like, hey, like, we also want to start something, or um, like, so say I am in the home linen field, right? Now, someone comes to me contacting me for a wedding, like an event planning company will come to me being like, hey, like, do you do block printing? I will be like, yes, I do block printing and I can get it done from you. Maybe they want to gift scarves to their guests, just an example. So that way is I am still providing for my artisans and building that community and pushing it forward. So that is a way to contribute. It can be in any field, it can be in the smallest things. Like my own room curtains is something that I got made on plain like malmal fabric from my artisans. So it's in the smallest ways that you can contribute. It's all around you. You just have to look for it, basically.
That's a wonderful thought. Like, not like whatever you try to contribute, not be in a major sense. Anything, even a
Yeah,
small
it
steps will be there.
right. It doesn't have to be in a major sense, you know. It's just the smallest of things. Like, like maybe you can just start by buying local. And by local, I don't mean like organic. I mean, for example, if you're in Jaipur, just go to the Pink City market there and buy a top, like, you know, which is hand block printed. That is also in some way supporting a local artisan, like instead of like a brand like a Shein, for example. So there are just small ways to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, so the next question is like, um, so like your whole journey is about leading your company. So how can we become entrepreneurs? Like, what are all few things to keep in mind, or how do we have to act upon it?
So I would say to become an entrepreneur, you need to again have the passion for starting something. There is no like book or course that can teach you how to become an entrepreneur, because I have learned whatever I have learned by being in the field and failing a lot of times, um, and just people, you know, like pushing me in kind of like the right direction every time I fail, or like picking myself up. Like, for example, when it didn't work out with the freelance designer, I had two options. Either I could sit and, like, you know, be sad about it that, hey, like, she's not liking my designs, I can't design good enough, or what do I do, you know? Or the second option is I took my design and I put it out there and saw what people reacted to it. When I started out, I literally started with one piece and just five designs, one piece in each design. So literally just five pieces is what I started with. Um, Secondly, you have to try and you will fail. But only when you fail will you learn. Otherwise, you're not going to learn. My logo got changed literally before the pandemic. Before that, it was a logo that I had self designed. My first, this photo that you're seeing here of the baby, that again came after 1.5 years of the company being started. Before that, I clicked my own pictures. And when I compare it now, that was bad. I'm not going to lie. But I started with it, and whoever liked your product, liked your quality will stay with you know. I still have clients who came to me 3 years ago, um, and they still come back because of my quality, because of my customer relation. uh, Secondly, I would say connect with your audience and look for that common connection, what I was saying, between you and your audience. That common connection comes in place not in your design as much, but more in your marketing point of view. um, Secondly, like, also, like, when you want to become an entrepreneur, there are a lot of things that you need to kind of see, right? So you need to have a plan. I would say have like a basic plan, but a plan is definitely needed. uh, I'll tell you why. Because a lot of times what happens is you are literally the only person running everything. You're doing the designing, you're finding the vendors, you're finding where to sell your products, you're doing the Instagram marketing, you're doing the shoot, you're doing the content creation, you're doing a billion things. Okay. At some point, you're going to get lost and you don't want to be stuck only in operations, right? You want to end up doing what you like. For example, if I started Messiah because I like designing and I want to spread art and promote artisans, I should concentrate on that. I shouldn't concentrate on operations, which is like day to day tasks of mine. So you end up losing track of that, is why you need a basic plan where you can always come back to the plan, take a look at it, revisit it, and be like, oh, okay, this was my plan of introducing a new product. Let me get on it, you know. So I feel becoming an entrepreneur requires passion for sure. It requires organization. Those are the only two things it requires to start with. And then once you start, rest everything can be taken care of. Be it like, you know, finding a team, be it funding, all of that can be managed. But you just need to put your product out there firstly to know whether it will sell, not sell, it's good, not good. And you will always find the right audience for your product.
Thank you so much, ma'am. With this, like we are reaching our final question.
Okay.
So, with all the advices we have given, like, what is one final advice like you want to give the kids based on art or on the entrepreneurship or anything? A final advice to our kids.
A final advice that I would like to give is, if art is what you want to do, don't be scared to pursue it. There is always a way to share it, which you will learn by either, like, you know, by just being in the field. Secondly, for all like the budding entrepreneurs or who have like a dream that they want to go for, just go for it. And thirdly, don't get disheartened by every failure. You will make it. Even if you hit rock bottom. I don't remember, I saw this in a movie, but this line has just really stuck with me. It's like when you hit rock bottom, you literally can't go below that. The only way you can go is up. So even if you hit rock bottom, it's fine because you're not going to go lower. So yeah, I think just these three things, keep it in mind, and that's about it.
Uh, Thank you, ma'am, for such inspiring thoughts. I'll open the floor for any questions from
Sure.
the students.
Uh,
Yeah,
just one thing. Oh, sorry. Please don't call me ma'am. Everyone can just address me as Rajashvi. That would be great.
yeah, sure. I'll correct it. Yeah, kids, like, if you have any questions, you can unmute yourself or you can raise your hands. I'll call one by one.
I'm just gonna stop this.
Anything you want to ask, or just synthesize what we have learned today regarding art and entrepreneurship? Go ahead. Anything you want to share with them, Rajashvi? So, anything you want to say, like, you can synthesize what all we learned through this session as well. Or I'll cold call someone if nobody's coming out.
I mean, y'all can ask about anything that I spoke about if you want me to elaborate on that, or if there's some specific thing you want to know about starting a company or the arts field.
Okay, I'll give you all 5 seconds. Otherwise, I'm gonna cold call someone. Yes, Bhagyashree, have your hands raised. Go ahead.
Sir, to start a company that everyone should be aware of that, no, sir. For that, there be government. I mean, permission, no, sir. For ma'am also get this permission from government to start a company.
Bhagyashree, can you repeat your question again? Like your voice was not so audible. As far as I understood, like she's asking, like to start a company, did you get a permission from the government, or how do you start it? That's a basic question.
Okay, so to start a company, I registered it as a proprietorship, which means that I am the sole owner of the company. And I registered it with the government and got my GST number for the company. So, also, but before you do that, you need to make sure that the name you pick is available. So the government has a website where you can check which names are there. Because if I would be one of like 50 messiahs, it would be very difficult. Oh, um, I think Bhagyashri is saying that she's not being able to hear.
But I can share the recording, so
Okay,
I should say.
okay, great. Um, so I feel like that is the first step, like, to check whether your name is available. It shouldn't be like 50 amongst 100. um, and secondly, you do register your company. Yes, that's the right way to go. The government is also doing a lot to support small businesses. So there's like MSME, which is medium sized businesses. There's small business, so you can register your company under that to begin with, also, in which you get a lot of like, tax breaks, a lot of subsidies from the government itself. Like, even when you file your GST, there's a different system of filing it. You don't have to file it yearly, but you have to file it quarterly. So all of that comes into play.
Thank you. So anybody else wants to share any thoughts? Yes, Shivshankari, you can go ahead.
Ma'am, not every heart will come out super, no, ma'am. There will be sometimes where we do wrong, no, ma'am. Like, what can we do from those hearts, ma'am?
Um, Sorry, Shiva Shankari, can you repeat it?
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, we do some mistake while we are painting or we are making any heart, no, ma'am.
Right,
Sometimes
right.
we can't use it somewhere where we want to, know, ma'am. At those time, where can we use those kind of arts, ma'am?
Okay. So, like, when we paint or when we are making a piece on canvas, obviously there are mistakes that that we know that people are going to make. So the mistake is in that art, like, like people know that it's hand painted because of that mistake. So I would say that you might think it's a mistake, but try to improvise on it and make it into something. Okay, for example, I get my bed sheets printed via block printing. Does everyone know what block printing is? Or I'll just give like a brief background. Block printing is when you take a wooden block, it's a stamp, and you dip it into color with your hand, and then you place it on the fabric like a stamp. And you remove it, and then the fabric gets the stamp. Um, so when that happens, it's like a lot of the times the color from the palette comes on the cloth. A lot of times the stamp, once it's one stamp is printed and the second stamp is printed, it's not perfectly printed. So people actually realize that it's a hand painted thing and these mistakes will happen, and they accept those mistakes. So, but to for people to accept those mistakes, you have to first accept them and understand that what you're making is a hand painted piece and it is going to have a few mistakes in it. So, and also if you really make a really big mistake, which you feel like, then you can't use the piece anymore, there's always a way. Like, even when my products are made, there are a lot of fabric scraps that are left over, right? I can just throw them, but I send them to like a recycle house where they get recycled and are used for some or the other purpose. So there are different ways that you can use the artwork that has gone wrong also. I hope that answered your question.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Anybody else who wants to share? I'll keep the space open for 10 more seconds.
I think Bhagyashri has messaged in chat that if we do not register our company, how do they know that we have started the company? Um, so Bhagyashri, exactly whom, like if you're asking that how do people know if you started the company, for people to know you don't have to register the company. For people to know, you just have to spread word of what you do, click photos and just keep putting them up, or like just keep circulating them on WhatsApp or on email or on message, or whenever you meet someone, talk to them about it, that hi, मैंने like ये start किया है, या हमें ये करना है, हम ये भी कर रहे हैं, like we are working, or we started a company to do with home decor, or whatever company it is that you want to start. Or if you're just painting, you can even share that you're just painting with them. Or and that like word of mouth is an actually like really good way to spread about your business.
Uh, Anybody else who wants to share what they learned through this session? The floor is open.
I've got another message. uh, uh, when do I feel I will achieve my goal? That's a good question. hmm I feel I will spend a lifetime achieving my goal, because goals keep changing. Once you, for example, my first goal was to be on My Baby Babbles, which is an online platform for kids products. And this year I achieved that goal, so now my goal has changed again. So it's a constant circle where your goal keeps changing and then you keep achieving smaller goals. So what I've learned again is through the process, key you should have smaller goals or realistic goals that you should set for yourself. So like for example, my goal wasn't that Messiah becomes like as huge as say my competitor in 2 years. My goal was that this is a very recognizable platform and I want to be on it in 2 years, which I achieved. So when you set realistic goals, you end up achieving them as well and feeling happy about yourself. But if I would set a goal ki हाँ, everyone should know about Messiah, या Messiah ना ऐसे एकदम मैजिक की तरह सबको बस पता होना चाहिए Messiah क्या है, so then that doesn't work either. Yeah, is what I would say.
I think we don't have any more questions. So I'd like to close the session. Thank you so much for being with us and sharing all your insights and thoughts with the
Definitely.
kids. And I'm sure like everyone loved it, and we'll definitely have a discussion in back in our classrooms on Monday.
Sure, sure. I guess I was just so like good with my answers that you all didn't have any questions. So thanks, guys.
Definitely,
No,
like everything was very elaborate and precise. So yeah.
I genuinely hope this helped. And I just want to say that if anyone wants to reach out to me ever in the future and ask me any questions or wants me to guide y'all, I'm always open and always available. Like I said, it's what I'm trying to be through social media. It's a platform. So anytime, feel free to contact me with your questions and I'll be happy to help you all. And I was very happy doing this. So thank you so much, Sumant, for even having me. It was great talking to everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here.
Yes, thank you.